June 28, 1997, Las Vegas, Nevada. MGM Grand Garden Arena. Mike Tyson stands in his corner between rounds 2 and 3 of his highly anticipated rematch against Evander Holyfield. His face is a mask of frustration and rage. Blood trickles from a cut above his eye, his mouthpiece has been knocked loose twice, and something inside the baddest man on the planet is about to snap. Across the ring, Evander Holyfield stands calm, controlled, winning on points. He's doing to Tyson what he did in their first fight 7 months ago, outboxing him, outsmarting him, headbutting him, and making Iron Mike look ordinary. Tyson's trainer, Richie Giachetti, leans in close. "Stay focused, Mike. Box him. Use your jab. Don't get crazy." But Mike Tyson isn't listening. His eyes are fixed on Holyfield with an intensity that goes beyond competition. This isn't boxing anymore. This is something primal, something dark, something that's been building inside Tyson for years. The bell rings for round 3. Both fighters move to the center of the ring. They clinch. And then in a moment that will be replayed millions of times, that will end Mike Tyson's career as a legitimate champion. That will transform him from feared warrior to global punchline. Mike Tyson bites off a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear. The arena erupts in chaos. Holyfield jumps back, screaming. The referee doesn't see it. They keep fighting. 30 seconds later, Tyson does it again, bites Holyfield's other ear. This time, everyone sees it. The fight is stopped. Tyson is disqualified. And the legend of Iron Mike Tyson dies in front of 100 million viewers worldwide. But this wasn't a momentary loss of control. This was the inevitable explosion of a man who'd been self-destructing for years, whose demons finally consumed him, whose empire crumbled because he couldn't defeat the one opponent he could never knock out, himself. This is the untold story of what really destroyed Mike Tyson. Not Evander Holyfield, not the bite, but everything that led to that moment. To understand why Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear, you have to understand who Mike Tyson was before he became Iron Mike, before he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, before he became a millionaire, a celebrity, a legend. Michael Gerard Tyson was born in Brooklyn, New York on June 30, 1966, into poverty, violence, and chaos. His father abandoned the family when Mike was 2. His mother, Lorna, struggled with addiction and abusive relationships. Mike grew up in Brownsville, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America, where survival meant being tougher than everyone around you. By age 10, Mike had been arrested dozens of times for petty crimes, robbery, assault, theft. He was small for his age, but already had a reputation for violence. Other kids learned quickly, don't mess with Mike Tyson. He fights like an animal, no rules, no mercy, just pure rage. At 13, Mike was sent to Tryon School for Boys, a juvenile detention center in upstate New York. It was supposed to reform him. Instead, it introduced him to the man who would change his life, Cus D'Amato. Cus D'Amato was a legendary boxing trainer, a philosopher of the sport, who trained champions like Floyd Patterson. He was in his 70s, semi-retired, when he met 13-year-old Mike Tyson. And Cus saw something in this angry, broken kid that no one else saw, potential for greatness. Cus didn't just teach Mike how to box. He gave him structure, discipline, purpose. He became the father Mike never had, teaching him the peekaboo defensive style, training him to be a precision instrument of destruction. But more importantly, Cus taught Mike something crucial. Fear is the enemy. The hero and the coward both feel the same thing. Cus would tell Mike, fear. But the hero uses his fear, projects it onto his opponent. The coward runs from it. Mike absorbed these lessons like gospel. By 16, he was destroying amateur opponents. By 18, he was turning professional. And on November 22, 1986, at age 20, Mike Tyson knocked out Trevor Berbick in the second round to become the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history. The transformation was complete. The scared kid from Brownsville had become Iron Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet. He was unstoppable. Devastating combinations, terrifying power, an aura of invincibility that made opponents beat themselves before the opening bell. From 1986 to 1990, Tyson was a wrecking machine. He unified all the heavyweight titles, defended his championship 9 times, knocked out legends like Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks. He earned hundreds of millions of dollars. He married actress Robin Givens. He became the most famous athlete in the world. But there were cracks in the foundation that no one wanted to see. Cus D'Amato died in 1985, just before Mike won his first title. The man who'd been Mike's anchor, his moral compass, his surrogate father gone. And with Kuss gone, Mike was vulnerable to the predators who saw him not as a person but as a cash machine. Don King entered the picture. The legendary promoter with the electric hair and the criminal record convinced Mike to fire his longtime trainer Kevin Rooney and surround himself with yes-men who wouldn't challenge him. King took control of Mike's finances, his career, his life. Mike's marriage to Robin Givens imploded spectacularly on national television, with Robin describing their relationship as torture, pure hell. The divorce was ugly, public, humiliating. Mike started partying harder, training less, surrounding himself with hangers-on and enablers. He was still winning fights, but the discipline was gone. The focus was eroding. The demons cars had helped him control were breaking free. And then came February 11th, 1990, Tokyo, Japan. Mike Tyson versus James Buster Douglas. Tyson was a 42-1 favorite. Douglas was considered a journeyman, a stepping stone. No one gave him a chance, but Douglas fought the fight of his life. And in the 10th round, he knocked out Mike Tyson, ending the aura of invincibility. The loss devastated Mike psychologically. For the first time, he'd been exposed as human, beatable, vulnerable, and he didn't know how to handle it. 3 years later came the rape conviction. Mike was sentenced to 6 years in prison for raping Desiree Washington, an 18-year-old Miss Black America contestant. Mike maintained his innocence then, and still does today, but the jury didn't believe him. Prison was supposed to break Mike Tyson. Instead, it gave him time to train, to focus, to rebuild. When he was released in 1995 after serving 3 years, the world was ready for his comeback. Boxing needed Iron Mike, and Mike needed boxing. But the Mike Tyson who came out of prison wasn't the same fighter who went in. He was older, slower, angrier. The fire that had made him great was now consuming him from the inside. Mike Tyson's comeback started promisingly. In his first fight after prison, he knocked out Peter McNeely in 89 seconds. The next fight, Buster Mathis Jr., demolished in 3 rounds. Then Frank Bruno, knocked out in the 3rd. Then Bruce Seldon, first-round knockout. Tyson looked unstoppable again. The money was flowing, $30 million per fight, endorsement deals, pay-per-view records. He reclaimed the WBC heavyweight championship. Iron Mike was back, but everyone could see the cracks if they looked closely. Tyson wasn't the same technically brilliant fighter he'd been in the late 80s. He was relying on intimidation and power, not the sophisticated peekaboo-style Kaz had taught him. His defense was sloppy, his training was inconsistent, and his personal life was a disaster. He married Monica Turner, a pediatric resident, in 1997. But the marriage was already troubled. He surrounded himself with an entourage of enablers who told him what he wanted to hear rather than what he needed to hear. His team wasn't managing a boxer, they were managing a brand, a product, a cash flow. Then came the fight everyone wanted to see. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield was everything Tyson wasn't at this point in his career. Disciplined, focused, technically excellent, deeply religious. He'd moved up from cruiserweight to become heavyweight champion, beating champions like Riddick Bowe and defeating Mike Tyson's old victims convincingly. The first Tyson-Holyfield fight took place on November 9, 1996, at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. It was supposed to be Tyson's coronation, his re-establishment as the undisputed king of heavyweight boxing. Instead, it was a humiliation. Holyfield dominated from the opening bell, using his superior boxing skills to outwork Tyson, landing punches at will, and most controversially, headbutting Tyson repeatedly. The referee, Mitch Halpin, either didn't see the headbutts or chose to ignore them. Tyson complained between rounds, "He's headbutting me, do something." But nothing was done, and in the 11th round, the fight was stopped. Tyson's corner threw in the towel, citing a cut above Mike's eye from what Tyson claimed was an intentional headbutt. The loss was crushing. Tyson had been exposed again, not as the baddest man on the planet, but as a fading champion whose opponents had figured out how to beat him. The aura was gone. The mystique was shattered. For the next 7 months, Tyson stewed in bitterness and rage. He believed Holyfield had cheated with the headbutts. He believed the referee had conspired against him. He believed the boxing establishment wanted to see him fall, and maybe he was partially right. Holyfield did headbutt him. Footage shows it clearly. The referee should have penalized it, but didn't. In Tyson's mind, this wasn't just an athletic competition anymore. This was personal. This was war. The rematch was scheduled for June 28, 1997. The anticipation was enormous. the largest pay-per-view event in boxing history up to that point, generating over $100 million in revenue. Everyone expected a brutal competitive fight. What they got was something no one could have predicted. From the opening bell, Holyfield employed the same strategy that worked in the first fight. He pressured Tyson, tied him up in clinches, and yes, headbutted him again. In the second round, Tyson sustained another cut above his eye from what he claimed was an intentional headbutt. Tyson went back to his corner furious. He did it again. He's headbutting me on purpose and they're not stopping him. His corner tried to calm him down. But Mike Tyson was beyond calm. In his mind, the rules had already been broken. Holyfield was cheating. The referee was allowing it. So why should he play by the rules? Round 3 began normally. The fighters moved to center ring. They clinched. And then Tyson turned his head and bit down hard on Holyfield's right ear, tearing off a piece of cartilage about an inch long. Holyfield jumped back, screaming, dancing around the ring in pain and shock. Blood poured from his ear. The crowd erupted in confusion and outrage, but incredibly, referee Mills Lane didn't see it happen. Lane called time, examined Holyfield's ear, assumed it was a punch that caused the damage, deducted 2 points from Tyson, and ordered the fight to continue. They fought for 30 more seconds. Then they clinched again, and Mike Tyson bit Holyfield's other ear. This time, everyone saw it. Mills Lane immediately disqualified Tyson. The arena descended into chaos. Holyfield's corner rushed the ring. Tyson's team tried to get him out. Fans threw bottles and debris. Police formed a cordon around the ring, and Mike Tyson, instead of showing remorse, tried to attack Holyfield again, had to be restrained by security, was screaming that Holyfield was a cheater, that he deserved it, that this was justice. The world watched in horror and fascination. This wasn't boxing, this was a psychological breakdown broadcast live to millions. This was the complete destruction of Mike Tyson's reputation, career, and legacy. The consequences were swift and severe. The Nevada State Athletic Commission revoked Mike Tyson's boxing license and fined him $3 million, 10% of his $30 million purse. He was required to undergo psychiatric evaluation before he could fight again. More damaging than the fine was the global ridicule. Tyson became a punchline, a meme before memes existed. Late-night comedians made jokes about him every night. Newspaper cartoons showed him as a cannibal. His endorsement deals evaporated. His reputation as a serious athlete was destroyed. The bite spawned thousands of jokes. What's the difference between Mike Tyson and Hannibal Lecter? One wears a muzzle. Mike Tyson's favorite restaurant? Piece of Holyfield's ear. Even Mike's explanation for the bite given at the post-fight press conference didn't help. He claimed it was retaliation for Holyfield's headbutts, that he snapped, that it was a heat-of-the-moment reaction. "This is my career," Tyson said, his voice choked with emotion. "I apologize to the world, to my family. I just snapped. I've been headbutted in the first fight, headbutted in this fight. I retaliated by biting. I was wrong for that, but the damage was done." Iron Mike Tyson, the fighter who'd terrified the heavyweight division, who'd been compared to Jack Dempsey and Rocky Marciano, was now just the guy who bit someone's ear off. Psychiatrists and psychologists analyzed Tyson on television, diagnosing him with everything from antisocial personality disorder to PTSD to brain damage from years of getting hit in the head. Boxing experts debated whether he'd ever fight again, whether anyone would sanction him, whether the sport could survive the black eye he'd given it. Mike Tyson had always been controversial. The rape conviction, the violent outbursts, the erratic behavior. But the bite crossed a line. It was grotesque, animalistic, indefensible. It confirmed every negative stereotype about Tyson, that beneath the boxing skills was just a thug from Brownsville, barely civilized, barely human. For a year, Tyson was banned from boxing. He underwent therapy, community service, psychiatric evaluation. When his license was reinstated in October 1998, he was a shell of his former self, not just physically, but psychologically. He fought again, won some fights against mediocre opponents, lost others badly. In 2002, he got another title shot against Lennox Lewis, who dominated him completely, knocking him out in the 8th round. Tyson barely landed a punch of consequence. His final fight came in 2005 against journeyman Kevin McBride. Tyson quit on his stool after the 6th round, telling his corner, "I don't have it anymore. I'm not going to disrespect the sport by continuing." At age 38, Mike Tyson's career was over. His record, 50 wins, 6 losses, 2 no contests. He'd earned over $400 million in his career. He filed for bankruptcy in 2003, owing $23 million to the IRS, and millions more to various creditors, lawyers, and ex-wives. The money was gone. The fame had curdled into notoriety. The legacy was tainted, and Mike Tyson was left to figure out who he was when he wasn't Iron Mike anymore. The years after retirement were dark. Mike Tyson struggled with drug addiction, cocaine primarily, that had been bubbling beneath the surface during his fighting career, but exploded once he had no structure, no purpose, no reason to stay clean. He appeared in minor movies and TV shows, usually playing a parody of himself, the scary ex-boxer, the convicted rapist, the ear-biter. He was arrested multiple times for assault, drug possession, DUI. His second marriage ended in divorce. His life seemed to be a slow-motion train wreck with no bottom in sight. But then something unexpected happened. Mike Tyson started to change. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a single moment of clarity. But gradually, through therapy, through sobriety, through finding peace with his past, Mike Tyson began the long process of redemption. He married Lakeha Spicer in 2009, his third wife, and credits her with saving his life. He got sober, really sober this time, and stayed sober. He started doing interviews where he spoke honestly about his demons, his mistakes, his regrets, not making excuses, just acknowledging the truth. In 2013, Tyson starred in a one-man Broadway show, Mike Tyson Undisputed Truth, directed by Spike Lee. In the show, Tyson talked openly about his childhood trauma, his rape conviction, the bite, his drug addiction. He didn't ask for forgiveness, he just told the truth. The show was a hit. Critics praised Tyson's honesty and vulnerability. Audiences saw a different side of Iron Mike, not the monster, but the man, broken, flawed, but trying to be better. Then came his podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, where he interviews celebrities, athletes, and thinkers while openly smoking marijuana. The podcast is surprisingly thoughtful, with Tyson asking deep questions about consciousness, mortality, legacy. He's become an unlikely philosopher, a man who's been to hell and come back with wisdom. In 2020, at age 54, Tyson returned to the ring for an exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr. He looked better than he had in years, fit, focused, disciplined. The fight was a draw, but more importantly, it showed that Tyson had found peace with boxing, could return to it on his own terms without the demons that had consumed him before. Today, Mike Tyson is a complex figure. He's not fully redeemed. The rape conviction still haunts him, and many people will never forgive what he's done. But he's also not the monster he was portrayed as. He's a man who was damaged as a child, who became a weapon as a teenager, who made terrible mistakes as an adult, and who spent the last decade trying to become better. As for the bite, the moment that defined him for millions, Tyson has expressed remorse, but also context. In interviews, he said he regrets it, wishes it never happened, but also explains the rage he felt about the headbutts, the feeling that the rules didn't apply equally. "I was a fucking pig," Tyson said in a 2020 interview, "but I was also getting headbutted repeatedly, and nobody was doing anything about it. So I snapped. It was wrong, but I understand why it happened." Evander Holyfield, for his part, has forgiven Tyson. The two have appeared together multiple times, done commercials together, even joked about the bite. In a strange twist, the ear bite, the moment that should have ended any possibility of reconciliation, became something they bonded over, a shared trauma that only they fully understand. "Mike did what he did," Holyfield said in an interview, "but he's apologized. He's changed. I forgive him. We're good." So what do we make of Mike Tyson? How do we process a man who was simultaneously victim and victimizer, hero and villain, champion and cautionary tale? The easy answer is to reduce him to one dimension, either pure evil, the rapist, the ear-biter, the thug, or pure victim, the abused child, the exploited athlete, the broken man. But real people are more complicated than that. Mike Tyson was created by a system that takes damaged children and turns them into commodities. He was 13 years old when Cus D'Amato found him, already broken by poverty, violence, and abandonment. Cus gave him structure and purpose, but also weaponized him, turned him into a precision instrument of violence. When Cus died, the vultures descended. Don King, managers, hangers-on, everyone wanting a piece of the cash machine. No one was protecting Mike. No one was teaching him how to be a person, how to process trauma, how to exist outside the ring. The Mike Tyson who bit Evander Holyfield's ear wasn't born in that moment. He was the inevitable result of decades of unaddressed trauma, exploitation, and a system that valued his ability to hurt people more than his humanity. Does that excuse what he did? No. Does it explain it? Maybe. The bite wasn't just about headbutts or cheating or losing. It was about a man who'd been fighting his whole life, fighting poverty, fighting opponents, fighting demons, finally hitting the point where he couldn't fight anymore, where the only thing left was rage. In that moment, Mike Tyson wasn't a boxer. He was a wounded animal, cornered and desperate, lashing out at the nearest threat. It was ugly, it was disturbing, but it was also human. The story of Mike Tyson isn't about the bite. The bite is just the moment where everything that was building inside him finally exploded for the world to see. The real story is about what created that explosion, what led a 13-year-old kid from Brownsville to become both the youngest heavyweight champion in history and the man who bit off another man's ear on live television. And maybe the most important part of the story is what's happened since. Because Mike Tyson could have died in obscurity, another washed-up athlete destroyed by fame and trauma. Instead, he's rebuilt himself, found sobriety, found peace, found a way to live with his past without being consumed by it. He's not a hero, he's not redeemed, but he's trying. And maybe that's all any of us can do. Acknowledge our mistakes, face our demons, and try to be better than we were yesterday. The night Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear, Iron Mike died. But maybe that death was necessary. Maybe the man who emerged from the ashes flawed, honest, searching, is better than the invincible champion ever was. Or maybe that's just what we tell ourselves to make sense of a tragedy that had no winners. All we know for certain is this. On June 28, 1997, the world watched a man self-destruct in real time, and we're still trying to understand what it meant. If this story made you think about trauma, redemption, and the cost of turning human beings into weapons, subscribe to Hidden Legends Stories. Leave a comment. Has Mike Tyson redeemed himself? Can someone come back from what he did? What do you think about his transformation? Next time, we'll explore another legend who was both hero and villain, victim and perpetrator. Until then, remember, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Iron Mike, broken man, complicated human.